Watch Kamala Harris absolutely destroy herself and highlight all the things that she has done to this economy during the Biden-Harris administration.
Kamala Harris' honeymoon seems to be over. People in the streets are saying that the dots aren't adding up and that Kamala Harris' honeymoon phase is just coming to an end. With the elections 40 days away from now, Kamala Harris seems to just be plummeting down the hills.
Check this out.
Everyday prices are too high. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. The bills add up. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication, the cost of food. A loaf of bread costs 50% more. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's a serious housing shortage. The price of housing has gone up. It's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. It is out of reach. The size of down payments have gone up as well. Costs are still too high. There's not much left at the end of the month, and prices are still too high.
There you guys have it, straight from her mouth. She is admitting what this administration has done for the last 3.5 years. Do you guys really want 4 more years of this? Because 4 more years of this, and America will be absolutely destroyed. We need a president who's going to get in there and whip things back into shape and fix this economy before it is too late. Follow for more, and God bless. Kamala Harris just sank her campaign. In an interview with MSNBC, she said, "Gone are the days of the American dream." She was also asked if the American people can trust her, and the only thing you need to know about her answer is to watch her body language. Check this out.
Right now is elusive, Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Kamala was just asked about her policies. She rambled and then said the American dream is gone. She's been in power for 4 years and said the American dream's gone.
Can we trust you? Yes. Yes. I am not perfect, but I will tell you, I'm always going to put the needs of the people first.
They're going to tell you everything you need to know. All you have to do is watch them. Kamala Harris is an enemy of capitalism and the middle class, and what they want is for your wealth to be diminished, so you have to have your hand out.
So, look, I grew up, so my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was, by all of our accounts and feelings, our second mother. She helped raise us. And so she was a small business owner. So I'll start with the small business, and congratulations on what you guys have done. I, from a child, knew who our small business owners are, right? I mean, you're business leaders, but you're also civic leaders. You take seriously your voice and how you can mentor, how you can grow, right? Communities and the sense of communities.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
And so part of my plan as president is to give small businesses, startups, a tax deduction of $50,000 to start up. Because right now the tax deduction is $5,000.
Can't do nothing with that.
That's exactly right. And see, the thing we know is that most of our small business, our entrepreneurs who want to start a small business, got a great idea, have incredible work ethic, but they weren't handed a bunch of money on a silver tray.
Right.
And they just need to get their foot in the door.
Yeah, so again, I apologize for making you guys sit through the word salad sandwich that Kamala Harris does every single time she's asked a direct question about the economy. She spends 2 minutes telling us about how she's from a middle class family and yada yada, daycare, neighbor, some other story that I don't care about. I don't care about your neighbor. I don't care that you grew up in a middle class family. What people want to know is how you're going to help working class families right now. And Kamala's answers to the question is always the same answers that she gives when she finishes her 2-minute filibuster, okay? And she basically says, well, I'm going to give a tax deduction to help people start small businesses, right? Except I don't think a tax deduction is going to help people start a small business, because ultimately you're not going to get that money. You're not going to see the benefit until you actually have started the business and you're generating some revenue. And then when you go and you file your returns, then you may see the benefit, but that's not going to help you start. Okay. So I think that Kamala Harris may be a little confused here in regards to a direct handout versus a tax deduction, but this is what she is proposing. Okay. And I personally think that these answers are just not going to move the needle, right? The same canned answers about the child tax credit and things like that, it's just not going to move the needle, right? Especially when you look at her policies compared to Trump's policies. Like, for example, no tax on tips, which Kamala Harris stole, by the way, and no tax on overtime. These are policies that will directly help Americans keep more of their own money without the government having to give them a handout, right? If you actually work, okay, if you work, okay, and you generate some money, okay, you get to keep more of your own money, right? Yeah, that is going to help out people, okay? That's going to be a direct benefit to the American people in a way that I think is classic conservative policies, right? I mean, this is what we want, right? I mean, we want to keep more of what we earn, right? We don't want a government handout, okay? Kamala's plan involve more government handouts, okay, more spending, and will probably be inflationary, okay, at the end of the day, especially as interest rates start to decline, right? So combine the Democrats and their spending policies, their out of control spending policies that we have experienced the last 3 or 4 years, that along with interest rates declining, yeah, I mean, we're headed towards an inflationary environment under Kamala Harris's presidency if she wins. Lord forbid that she does. But hopefully the American people are not falling for the nonsense from Kamala Harris, okay? Because again, she's having trouble articulating a coherent plan when it comes to what she wants to do for the economy. And that means that Tim Walz is probably going to struggle with coming up with a coherent plan as well too, especially during this debate with JD Vance. So this is part of the reason why you have the mainstream liberal media already coming out and trying to lower expectations for Tim Walz going into this debate, because they already know that JD Vance is probably going to eat this man alive.
Tomorrow night, the debate. What will be the line of attacks that come out of there? We probably expect J.D. Vance to be more on message than what Donald Trump has been about Kamala Harris. But what about Tim Walz? This is what our reporting from our colleague Isaac Dover from over the weekend says, that Walz constantly comes back to how worried he is about letting Harris down, and aides insist that isn't just about setting expectation. The governor fears he won't make his case as well as he needs to. It is expectation setting. They're trying to lower the bar.
He's so nervous. He's scared.
Yes, but Vance is a good debater.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Vance is going to be a very good debater. He's nothing like Trump. He'll be very focused. And Walz will definitely have to be on his toes to push back on the idea that Harris is extreme and that she's been weak on the border and that, they're extreme liberals. I think he will have to be on his toes about that, but I think that he's likely very well prepared because he does have that everyman thing, which I don't think Vance really has. Yeah. Like Vance is very studied, but is he someone you want to get a beer with? Yeah. I don't know.
Walz, he used to be all over the airwaves. He used to be a regular presence on cable news everywhere, but since he became VP, he's really not done much. I mean, he did the Dana Bash interview, and then maybe a couple other poll sides, but really has not been anywhere.
This has been a consistent feature of the Harris campaign, even after they chose Walz, likely because he did so well in some of those interviews. They have taken a media strategy that is first a do no harm one, one that puts them in front of people that they know are kind of going to be more sympathetic, one that has not put them in more confrontational settings. And I think it has added to the kind of perception that maybe they are running from the story they have to tell about the change of values from then to now. That is a choice that they have made. They could put people in front of more people, have them answer more questions. Now, I think
is that a risk? Is that a risk as we head into this high-profile debate?
I imagine it's a risk, but keeping them away is a risk, too. And I think that we are seeing some of the fruits of that right now. Part of the reason each one of these debates and moments has so much pressure on Harris and Walz when they come is because they're doing so few of them. One thing Vance has done over the last 3 weeks is go on a ton of podcasts, do a ton of interviews, do a ton of kind of media things. And we haven't seen that reverse his favorability, right? We still know that he's underwater. Things like the childless cat lady comment or things will be held over his head. But he has put himself in situations. And one of the things the Democrats have curiously not done for me is do that type of spreading spreading the message all across the field. You have Harris today on things like all the smoke podcasts. They'll go on subway takes. They'll do stuff like that. But that's not answering the core question people have of them, which is who are they and what they believe in. Going on those things does not do that job.
Yeah, she definitely did not do that on the All the Smoke podcast that we just went over. Okay, she definitely did not answer the questions that people have of her. Okay, she didn't do that at all. And also on top of that, Tim Walz is not somebody I would want to have a beer with, right? I wouldn't even allow Tim Walz around a playground, okay? So I definitely would not say that Tim Walz appeals to the everyday working man or whatever they were saying on CNN. No way, okay? I don't think that the average man really can see themselves in Tim Walz, right? I don't think they can really relate to Tim Walz. I mean, the guy is just a weirdo, okay? No man that I know runs around carrying themselves the way that Tim Walz carries himself or the way that Doug Emhoff carries himself, okay? Because what they're also trying to do is to sell us this idea that the real man is a man like Doug Emhoff, who, is embracing modern masculinity. He's a wife guy. Take a look.
Something that has also been an important part or an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And to me, it's the right thing to do, support women. If some woman succeeds, some dude out there is suffering, it's not a one-to-one relationship. When we lift up women, we lift up families, we lift up the economy. And when I was in the business world, it lifted up the organizations that I was in. It certainly lifted up the White House. When you were there, with you there and Kamala as vice president, it was a great workplace there.
There's a pop culture phrase, wife guy, which you've kind of been known as. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard about it.
As called a wife guy, a proud wife guy? How do you feel about that?
Well, if I do something annoying to Kamala and she gets upset, I'll just show her that article. Right. And I'll say, I'm trying.
Or a t-shirt or a mug.
Yeah.
Wow. The estrogen levels in that room were off the charts. Okay, no doubt. But if, the Kamala Jen Psaki workplace was so great, okay, then why is it that we have reports of Kamala's staff leaving, okay, en masse because of how bad the work environment was? Again, so what we have here is just an all-around mess, okay? Kamala Harris has a big issue with word salads, okay? And apparently, Tim Walz has a big issue with word salads as well, too, right? He has the same issues that she has, and that's why they're trying to lower the expectations for Tim Walz going into this debate, okay? But he should not have come out and claimed that he couldn't wait to debate J.D. Vance if he was not confident in his skills, right? Now, all of a sudden, they want to say, well, Tim Walz, he's not really that type of guy, right? He's not really that type of guy. And I'm like, well, hey, it's kind of too late for all that because this is what he told us, right? The whole point of Tim Walz being picked was to appeal to men, right? And to show us that he's that guy, right? But apparently when it comes time for Tim Walz to show us that he's that guy, we're supposed to lower our expectations, right?
No.
Are we thriving? Are members in your state?
I would argue we're not really thriving right now. This inflation, which, by the way, was brought to us by Kamala Harris, has really slowed down people from being able to excel.
By Kamala?
Yes.
Vice president.
Oh, Charlemagne.
It's still the president.
Charlemagne, listen, man. When Joe Biden wanted to do his American Rescue Plan, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate. She broke the tie that started this inflation that has hurt so many people in our country. Everybody listening to your show. It's not true?
First of all, you sure you want to go there? Tie-breaking vote.
You sure you want to go there?
This vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
Outside, Congressman, when you go outside,
you sure you want to go there? Okay, let's go there.
You had it
You got notes. You got notes, Angela, right?
That's fine. I have notes
I'm
too.
gonna give it. I'm gonna
The
give it to
biggest note I
Charlamagne.
have today
I'm gonna give it to Charlamagne.
is that on
I don't
every
even wanna hold
question
it.
I've asked,
because Angela, hold on now. Go
for
ahead.
every infrastructure project in your community,
You can go to
should
third
go
page,
out
just the
and
highlighted
thank
portion.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Congress that voted for the American Rescue Plan.
Angela,
That's what should be happening.
Larry Summers wrote an op-ed back in 2021. Larry Summers was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton. He was an economic advisor to Barack Obama. He said that the American Rescue Plan that Joe Biden wanted, that Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate, would create a massive inflation that we have not seen in a generation. Well, guess what? Larry Summers was correct. You know who also was correct, Angela? I was, because I was in the budget committee when they brought the bill. And I said in that committee, it's going to cause massive inflation. That's what happened. So the problem we have in our economy today is that prices have gone up massively. Wages adjusted for inflation is down. People's pocketbooks are hurting. But we have a presidential election in 40 days. So, and I'm gonna ask Envy this question. Envy, you're in the housing business as well. I know because I watch. I listen to the show. No, I'm just asking them a question. Chill, Angela. So I listen to the show. I know you do a lot of business in housing. Mm-hmm. Would you hire somebody that broke up stuff in one of your houses to fix the other houses?
No.
Exactly. She broke the economy.
I'm not going to do this morning, Byron.
Why are you not going to do this, Angela? Because I'm bringing facts. Hold on now. So now I'm bringing facts and you don't want to do it no more? Come on now, Angela. That's not right. I'm bringing facts to you. I thought we were going to have a fact-based conversation. I want to have a fact-based conversation.
You wanted to bring up votes, and so let's talk about votes.
Go ahead.
You have a 96% voting record with Heritage Action.
Angela,
and for
I'm
those
not running
who are
for president, but we can talk about mine.
I have a message to the Democrat Party and to Kamala Harris, and this is a message from real Black women. We were freed on January 1st of 1863. Therefore, you're not going to control us. You're not going to bully us into voting for whomever you select for your own personal gain. We're not going to do what you say because we're afraid of you. Those days are over. But I also wanted to specifically address what you're doing with Kamala Harris. First of all, most of us do not care what her race is. You could have promoted her as just a good candidate, but the fact that you're promoting her as the Black woman candidate, that makes people that are intelligent, that makes us pause and say, okay, so what? She's the Black female. Tell me something about what she's going to do for my community, for my family, and for my country. If you can't do that, then you've made a great mistake. You have lost half of us who are intelligent enough to know that the President of the United States must be able to sit across a table from Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, from whomever the new Prime Minister is, or President of Iran, and from Yi from China. You have to have those qualities. Therefore, you cannot be afraid to have an interview before a favorable news network like NBC, CBS, CNN, ABC, and all of the rest of them. If you are afraid to have an interview, my major concern is what is Putin going to do with you or to you and to the United States. Those are the things that are important to us. Then let's go down the line. Again, if you are a real presidential candidate, we want to know about issues, policies that will affect us, things that you messed up in the last 3.5 years. We want to know today. You have 2 months. Today, how are you going to fix the prices of food in grocery stores? I don't like using the term inflation because most people don't even know what that means. But you know what? Everybody knows what it means, how expensive eggs are. That, you know, she was making these comments about using hot sauce, how expensive. Louisiana hot sauce, I can't afford to buy it anymore because it's gone up. It's like tripled in price or something. It's crazy. Those are the things that we're interested in. We also want to know illegal immigration, what you have done to the border, and why have you done it to the border. You were the border czar, but now we see an influx of illegal immigrants. military-age men. We see what is going on in Colorado. We know that the prisons in Venezuela were emptied and they were told to go to the United States. We see what that has done to our cities. And we want to know, why did you let that happen? We want to know what's happened with child trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking on the border when everybody has free reign. Those are the issues that are important to American black women, okay? Real black women who are free, who do not care what race you are. They could have put you out here and never said anything about race. But if you told me, yes, we've made mistakes in the last 3.5 years, but I promise you, in the next month, we're going to get the price of eggs down. Next month, we're going to stop illegal immigration before the election. Show us what you can do before the election comes. Let me see what you have. It's like, okay, you know, don't just talk your talk. You better walk your walk. Do it right now while you're the vice president. Therefore, some of us can follow you. And the other thing, all of the efforts that you're making, that the Democrat Party is making to make you pretend to be a black woman, they're insulting. The fact that you have to change your diction when you go from place to place, insulting. I've spoken, I don't know where, how many different places. It never has occurred to me to speak differently before different crowds of people. Now, if you're intelligent, you're going to speak intelligently. I don't care where you're speaking. And to assume that you have to talk down to black people is insulting to all black people. You don't have to talk down to us. You don't have to get somebody on stage dancing and twerking to relate to us. Grown people, you can talk to us like grown people. And you know what? It doesn't matter what race. We don't care. But I just wanted to say this to the Democrat Party. You've made mistakes with this candidate. And I want you to know that the black women of America, those of us who are free, we recognize your mistakes.
Kamala Harris published in her book that she was standing next to her Grandma Beryl. But Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. I can show you right now her death certificate. Let's take a look at Beryl's death certificate, which confirms. So this is a huge scandal. Just an absolutely huge scandal.
Candace Owens has criticized Kamala Harris, alleging that Harris lied about her grandmother, Beryl, in her autobiography. According to Owens, Harris referenced Beryl as though they had a personal relationship. But Owens claims Beryl died years before Harris was born, casting doubt on the story. Owens presented a death certificate as evidence. Harris's supporters might argue that such claims are politically motivated, while her critics, like Owens, raise concerns about her authenticity. This reflects a broader debate over Harris's portrayal of her family background.
Are you risking anything at all entering the political arena to endorse Kamala Harris? And I think the answer people understand in this time and place is yes. So why was it so important to risk that reputation, all of that trust, all of that capital for this moment?
Because I really care about this country. And there couldn't have been a life like mine, a career like mine, a success like mine without a country like America. Only in America could there be a me. And I feel that a lot of things are on the line, a lot of things are at stake. And if ever you're going to stand up and fight for your country and fight for freedoms that, you know, I don't need the right to abortion, but I believe that the right to control your body and be able to control what happens to you, particularly as a woman person in this country, is essential. It's fundamental. And all of the freedoms that I have enjoyed, the successes that I have enjoyed, I feel that they're on the line and at stake in this moment. And I think there's the bottom line for me is that decency and respect are on the ballot. And that's why I was willing to do it. And let me just tell you, the big risk was when I don't have anything to lose now. I don't have a show. I don't have, it's not, what is it going to cost me other than knowing that I had to do whatever I could to speak up.
In 2008, I was framed for murder and wrongfully convicted by the office of Kamala Harris, sentenced 50 to life in prison. It took me 5.5 years to ultimately get back in the trial due to prosecutorial misconduct. And it took me another year to go to my second trial, to which I was vindicated by a jury of my peers. When I got convicted, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I got sentenced 50 to life in prison, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I look back and I seen her, she was smiling. And she did that stupid ass laugh that she do right now. This shit ain't funny.
Well, folks, it seems like the American people are finally seeing the light. What will happen on the election day? We don't know. Will Kamala Harris be the next president of the United States? Or will Donald Trump once again be crowned as the United States president? We'll see. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.